to get to double back to the Royal Rumble, because I did put in the tagline Royal Rumble reaction. I do just need to give my thoughts on the show.
Speaking of
So
raging ADHD.
yeah. So you know what? I didn't hate the men's Royal Rumble. In fact, they had this kid come out. I guess he's a celebrity called Ishowspeed, and Braun Breaker killed that bastard. I think he's one of those kids that plays video games on the internet. So he's one of those guys, I think. So Braun Breaker killed him. I thought that was pretty cool. It was fun to see Joe Hendry, but goddamn, do they not respect that TNA title whatsoever? They had Roman Reigns eliminate him in 2 minutes, and I was like, well, you guys should have saw that one coming. But he did get the big reaction, so I was like, I was happy he got that. But boy, oh boy, did he get? I think the comparison was Taz wrestling Triple H back in the day. Yeah,
I'm gonna say I feel like we've been here before.
Yeah. So the funny thing is that last year when Jordynne Grace was in it, and she was in it again this year, obviously. When Jordynne Grace was in it, they actually let her stay in for like 10 minutes, and then I don't think she eliminated anybody, but she was in it for like 10 minutes and looked great. But Joe was in. He beat up the Miz, which I think everybody should beat up the Miz. He hit his standing ovation finisher, and then Jacob Fatu took him out. Roman Reigns comes down, and then they end up fighting a little bit, and he just kind of eliminated him. But and then what else were the highlights? I mean, that was really it. It was mostly about like the entrances and like the big stars, of course, like typical Royal Rumbles. Jake Paul came out. Jake Paul was part of. I think Jake Paul's got some heat on him right now because he was trying to outshine a lot of the veteran wrestlers during the match. Like, I guess they're like legit pissed. I guess like Drew McIntyre's legit pissed at him over it. That's the rumor going around on the internet.
Is Drew legit pissed, or is Drew doing his working pissed guy thing?
That's what I thought. That's what I thought. But Sapp and a few other people, I think Meltzer, said that he's legit pissed. Now, none of them will say Logan Paul, but if you watch the video of the moment that Drew gets ousted, Logan Paul's like in the middle of the ring trying to get the cameras on him, while Drew McIntyre, who's starting an angle with Damian Priest, is getting eliminated. So I think like everybody's kind of pissed at him. I thought the guy who came across as the biggest star, surprise, is Jacob Fatu. I think he's going to be like one of the top guys in this company going forward. And we've been on his train for a long time.
I was writing articles about Jacob Fatu back in 2019 when he was on the come up in MLW. Like the only thing that surprises me is how long it took for Jacob Fatu to get here. You know, and that's his own his own immaturity. We'll just leave it at that. And like, I'm glad he's here. I'm glad that it's working out for him. Actually, David Bixen's fan again. By the way, if you guys don't listen to Between the Sheets on every week on podcasts, you really should. It's the best historical wrestling podcast out there. Bix says SRS reported tonight that Logan Paul isn't get his shitting guy.
Oh, so the guy that everybody's mad about. So I wonder who it is. That's weird. It looked. I mean, like I was watching it. It looked like Logan Paul. Logan Paul dumped out CM Punk really hard, and CM Punk, like when they dump him out,
that's funny. God damn it!
I know, dude. So he dumps out CM Punk, and typically you land on the apron and then you fall to the floor, especially with the older guys. He dumped out Punk, and Punk just went over the top rope and landed right on his ass on the floor, and you could tell that shit hurt. I was like, holy shit! And then right afterwards, Seth Rollins does the curb stomp to Roman Reigns, but he slips. And he ends up getting Roman Reigns with both feet, and then just slams his head into the mat on the floor.
Ow.
It looked bad. I was like, I bet Roman is going to have a conversation with Seth Rollins after that, but I think they're setting up something there. But it's well, it was it was pretty. And then of course Jey Uso ends up eliminating John Cena, and they did a whole dramatic thing, and John Cena came in the ring and put him over. So looks like John Cena will probably win the Elimination Chamber next month and head on to Cody, and then we'll get Gunther versus Jey Uso. Main event Jay, but probably like in the first match of night one or something like that. So which that's not a money drawing match, but I think but Jey Uso really is over. And the women, I didn't think the women match was very good at all. Jordynne Grace got a little bit of shine there, but she didn't really last too long, but they did treat her like she was a star. So she's signed with the company now. They announced her as officially being there. There was not like Alexa. Oh, so I want to get into it with BJ. I just texted him to see if he's like, hey, bro, I'm trying to kill time. You still coming? So Alexa Bliss showed up earlier in the week. It was reported, I think it might have been Meltzer. It was reported that Alexa Bliss and WWE were far apart on a contract. Conspiracy Mike. I'm just want everybody to know this is Conspiracy Mike talking. And JD knows I am susceptible to the conspiracies. UFOs, JFK. I'm into it. So just when I say this, this is conspiracy Mike talking. But I don't think this is a crazy conspiracy. I think WWE fed Meltzer some bad information to try to make him. Oh, hold on, shit. Look, I got David Bixispan fact checking me in real time. It was Mike Johnson. It was Mike Johnson. Then it was backed up by Dave. Thank you, David. So Bix is keeping me on my toes.
Bix doing Bix work out here. I love it.
Yeah. So, well, he's like one of the best researchers out there when it comes to pro wrestling journalism. So he's going to keep me on my shit. So, so anyway, Mike Johnson, and then backed up by Dave, said they're far apart on money. It looks like WWE might have fed bad information to them to get them to create like this bidding war. Like, hey, Alexa Bliss might leave and go to AEW, and then only for her to be the surprise entrant, because immediately after she shows up, Michael Cole says, I thought on the internet that she wasn't going to be here. And then Wade Barrett, no shit, JD, Wade Barrett, you have to check the clip out. It's on Twitter. No shit says, don't listen to the dirt sheets on WWE Royal Rumble, and blame the dirt sheets for starting a rumor, when it was very likely they're the ones that fed the rumor to the dirt sheets to begin with. So just so they can have that moment and say that line to get people to discredit the media right around the same time that this big story is dropping.
Yeah, that's kind of right out of their playbook, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it's conspiracy, Mike, but it kind of sounds like it's legit, right?
I don't think you have some insane conspiracies. I will kowtow to that 100%. I've heard some crazy things come out of you, but I don't think this one's crazy. They've done this before. Like they feed stuff. Oh, so-and-so's contract's coming up. And usually Dave, like, no, that guy's been signed for months. It doesn't surprise me that one might've slipped past the goalie. Right. Yeah. And they just wanted that opportunity. Like, you can't trust anything that comes out of anyone's mouth out there. And again, this is part of the problem, is like they have this insular little bubble. And if you're a fan, if you're like sitting there eating and stuff like that, you will buy anything they sell you. So, I mean, what are you going to do, man?
Yeah. Let's see. David has a good comment. He says, don't listen to those dirt sheets, especially not this week when it comes to a woman being unhappy with WWE. Ew. Sean Cedar, don't forget the Meltzer Fears fact sign in the crowd. Yeah, they kept panning to that one. It's like, how childish can you be? And this company's been doing this forever, by the way. Just at war and at odds with the media.
So I don't know if I would call Vince McMahon an insecure person, right? Vince has his issues, but I don't know if I would chalk him to being insecure. One Paul Levesque, remarkably an insecure person. So, yes. I mean, it's not like things aren't going to keep continuing in that direction.
Yeah. Well, and we're going to get on as I continue to kill time waiting for BJ. We'll talk more about his
BJ coming. BJ, stand us up. I feel like we're on a date.
No, he said he was coming. I promise. Okay. He said he would be here. So I worked it out with him. I worked it out with him yesterday. So yesterday. So hold on.
We had to go with Vix again.
Don't forget that Joe Lanza and Cassidy Haynes both reported a few months ago that WWE tried to plan a fake Kevin Owens contract story with Dave, so they could go all fake news on him if he bit. Yes, I remember that one. Yes, and but Dave did not bite on that one. Yes, so they're actively trying to sabotage. If the pro wrestling media didn't understand by now, like last night had to be the tip of the iceberg. WWE does not respect you whatsoever. They don't respect the hardworking journalists, the legitimate journalists, and they certainly don't respect content creators, and they respect the propagandists even less, right? Because they are using you as a tool because they know that you'll do anything for a WWE logo cheese board to come to your house. They know it, and they're just willing to use you any way that they can. In fact, Cheeseboard himself, earlier in the week, was tweeting about Dave Meltzer just randomly again because they knew that some shit was about to drop, and that's what he did. He did the same thing to Bix too, like that scumbag cheese board. Anyway, back to the Rumble. Okay. Yes, fuck him. Yes, the worst match on the show, JD, which is going to shock you. And this was the match that I was looking forward to the most because I haven't been watching SmackDown, so I have not actually seen the Motor City Machine Guns in WWE. I've seen some clips and some GIFs on Twitter, but I haven't actually watched a full match. It was the Motor City Machine Guns up against DIY in a best 2 out of 3 falls match.
That was the worst match in the show?
For me, that's like, the Fantastics and the Rock and Roll Express. Like, you know what I mean? Like, like I'm thinking that's gonna fucking rule. It was dog shit. I left thinking that maybe the machine guns are cooked. I don't, dude. The crowd wasn't into it. Nobody cared. They went best 2 out of 3 falls in a 14-minute match. The first fall was within like 3 minutes. It felt like neither team was on the same page. It was rough in a lot of parts. It just didn't look good. It was boring. I ended up walking away from it, and I went and like made myself some coffee because I was falling asleep. I was like, this thing sucked, man. It was a terrible match.
I never would have expected one. I keep forgetting the Motor City Machine Guns are in WWE now.
Yeah.
2, I never in a million years would have expected that. Like that, is that really? Like I didn't hear that. Like that's crazy to me.
Yeah. No, they've had like, apparently I haven't watched anything. They've had a pretty good run on SmackDown. They were the tag champions, and then DIY turned on them, so they got a storyline there. But JD, that match was not great. It was not great. They had no chemistry, which was shocking. Yeah, it was so weird. Like those two teams seemed like they were made for each other.
Yeah.
So I was like looking forward to it. But you know what? Like DIY is not the same DIY they were 5 years ago. But the last I saw Motor City Machine Guns in TNA, they were still really freaking good. So is
Ciampa just not Ciampa anymore? Does he not? I mean, he's been beat up a lot. So I just wonder, is the injuries taking a lot out of him?
I'm guessing so, but that like it just seemed like they just weren't on the same page, and they couldn't get anything done. So
okay, Bix got a good comment here. Bix says nothing against Motor City Machine Guns as people, but they both need to update their look, especially Shelly. The clothes in Shelly's hair make them look like midlife crisis middle-aged guys.
They look like they're still going to My Chemical Romance concerts.
Especially with WWE having not developed the characters at all. It's actually a really good point. Is like for guys like us, the Motor City Machine Guns really mean something, especially 2 guys who had a TNA podcast, right? Like you still have it. Like the guns mean something to us, but to like the kids in my class, right? The ones that are doing the yeet chants and sticking the ones up in the air when I come into the classroom, which is so annoying. But like, so like they don't care. They don't have that. They don't have that connection to the Motor City Machine Guns.
Yeah, they got to get a flashier look probably and get catchphrases. But when they do that, they're going to lose the essence of what made them great. Was they were, one of the best in-ring tag teams of the last 20 years, right? So, and very influential, right? So I was just so disappointed in the match.
I don't know. I think you got to look at this as like a gold watch run for them. Like this is their chance to get to something they never thought possible. So, I got to tip my cap on this.
It was a bad match. I think like they'll probably be on TV for like another year, and then they'll just end up as coaches, which I think like both of them have history of doing, especially Shelly. I think he actually like was like a head coach at a school at one point. So he's trained a lot of people. So, but for me, the best match of the night was Kevin Owens versus Cody Rhodes in a ladder match. Joe and Rich shit all over it. So I was like, man, now I got to go on my podcast and be like, I actually kind of liked the match. And I'm sick of ladder matches too. But I really just like these 2 guys. I think that are great. Especially Kevin Owens. The finish of the match was they set up the ladder kind of as a table and on the outside, and Cody Rhodes did the Alabama slam. He had the legs over the shoulders and he did the Alabama slam through the ladder, and then Kevin Owens' head got caught in the ladder and he's bleeding all over the place. It looked pretty sick. It actually ended up looking it was actually pretty safe. It looked crazy, but and then Cody did the long walk up there and got the belt. So that was my Royal Rumble thoughts. I'm going to continue trying to watch some of these shows as long as I can hold on. Really, as long as you guys will keep listening to me talk about them, I'll keep doing it. But I don't know how much longer I can do Raw though. Like but I have been I thought out of Raw, Dynamite, and Impact, I thought Raw was actually the best of the 3, and it was the one that had the least amount of wrestling, which is kind of incredible. But I just think that they just have like really good promos on that show right now, and big time characters.
Guys, if you want me to start watching Raw and Netflix, like I said, and the shows, like I said, I'm probably the worst wrestling podcaster around right now because I'm not watching it. If it's really important to you that I start watching this stuff so I can converse better with Mike, you're going to have to go somewhere else because it's not going to happen.
I mean, you could at least get the cock and then, the occasional big show and join in with me. But Jake, the cock one time. Just
I got some cock in Big Show. Yeah, I can spread some cock. I can spread some cock around a little bit.